works. I don't like your shot as that.
What's up?
Out there. You've been shooting a lot of dance photography lately.
I have been,
And that's somewhat different than what you're used to shooting, right?
Yeah, it's very different. So as a photographer, I've done a lot of, well, I started in like landscapes, floral stuff, 'cause that's just, fun. Those are fun things, but can't make a whole lot of money with that. So I started doing, well, we did like weddings for a long time, family portraits, things like that. And then I recently got into kind of sports photography, which led me into dance photography, which is low light sports, which is very different. So. Do you have a follow-up question?
The smell of the dead animal we parked next to is throwing me off.
It's fish. We're by a lake.
So what are, I remember you mentioning some of the challenges that were different. What were some of those challenges? It's fast-paced, which...
Yeah. So...
you shot weddings, so what's different than that during a ceremony?
It's incredibly different. So... weddings, you do get one shot, and that's really it. There is no redoing a wedding ceremony, I hope, for most people. But
sure, there's a few.
There's probably some
They
out
probably
there.
got sequels in their wedding films.
But after you've done weddings for so long, it becomes way easier as it goes on. You kind of know what to expect, when to be where. You can kind of hear the cues and the keywords during the ceremony to know when you should be where for what shot. And ceremonies are only 20, 30 minutes long tops for the most part, depending on the kind of wedding that you're at. But and you are kind of in control of a lot as a photographer at a wedding, because you are the one that's supplying the timelines and everything, so it's kind of on you to be responsible for that. In the sports world, especially talking about this was competitive dances that I was at. So I was at dance competitions, which run 3 days long. They're usually 10 to 15 hour days. The longest day I was on was a 15 hour day. And they are controlled environments. It is a theater setting, but again, it's low light. So low light dance, and it's extremely, extremely fast paced. You're talking in one weekend, anywhere from 500 to 800 different dances that you are capturing in a 2 to 3 day span. It goes nonstop, and it is extremely fast. One dancer is leaving the stage as the next one is literally coming on the stage. There's no downtime. There's no in between. So that was really hard to get used to at first, but after a couple weekends, you kind of got into the hang of things, and you kind of know what to expect in that case.
You hit a flow state during it?
Yeah, it also it kind of gets hard when, you are shooting 12, 15 hour days, something like that. You get kind of halfway through the day. If your day starts at 6 a.m., the competition starts at 7, get to the venue at 6 a.m., whatever, and then you're going until 11 p.m. or so, and it is literally nonstop. You will sometimes get a break for lunch. There were times when I was eating at my desk, taking bites in between dances, because you're shooting nonstop the whole time, But yeah, you do kind of get into a flow state. Halfway through the day, you kind of just I hate to say it, but there are times you kind of just zone off, and you are just kind of tracking the dancer and hitting the shutter, But at the same time, I got so used to it that those were sometimes some of the best photos I took, was when I was just I was focused on it, but also not
focused and not paying attention.
Yeah,
is that a thing?
Yeah,
that's
honestly.
A thing or not? I got to see you do one of the events that were local. I stopped by and watched you do it. And
you stopped by for less than 10 minutes, and you were gone.
That was enough. That was mind numbing. Yeah. It was entertaining, but that was rough.
Yeah, it's a lot.
So I guess we can go into some tips about it, but before we do that, let's talk about the fun gear things. People are going to want to know what you shot on to do this stuff, and what would you recommend to shoot on. So
I'm a Sony shooter. So the cameras I have I have an A7R4. I have an A7R3 is what I have, and then we have the A7 IV. And then I was shooting with the Sigma 24-70 and the Sony G Master 70-200. And that was my primary kit for everything. Given that these are like theaters and stages, they're usually like convention centers, stages, ballrooms, theaters, things like that. I was sometimes right up close on the stage, but most of the time I was back pretty far. So that 70 to 200 I was on constantly, and sometimes I would have to even go into crop mode on the A7 IV using that, which is insane. Like,
I don't even know do you know what the megapixels are in the A7 IV and crop?
I'm not sure. I would assume maybe 18 or 24, maybe.
18 sounds right. I don't think it's 24. 18 sounds right.
Yeah.
On that. I can't remember what the megapixel is on that.
On the A7 IV?
Yeah, no, 30.
Is it 30, 32
Somewhere around
maybe?
30. Somewhere around 30.
Yeah.
But so you had the A7R and an A7 IV, which if people aren't familiar, the A7R is the resolution camera. That's 42 megapixels.
Yeah.
That is probably more for studio photography. It's the high res. I mean, that's their. I thought we had the 4. The A7R 4 is the 3.
It's the 3.
Well, it's still a great camera.
Mm-hmm.
But you found yourself using the A7 IV more for this kind of photography.
Yeah, I didn't want to accept that because I don't like the A7 IV.
Yeah, you love your R.
I do. I've shot with my R for years, so I was fully going into this expecting that like I am running this camera into the ground because on a weekend, on average, I'm shooting 25 to 30,000 photos in one weekend doing these dance competitions. And after already having the A7R III for 4 or 5 years now, I also bought a secondhand. Like I was fully expecting that like I'm literally just running this camera into the ground. But even after one weekend of doing this, I realized that the A7 IV was the better camera for this kind of shooting. Mainly because I was delivering JPEG photos. Like there's no time to edit, to cull through things. Like I'm not sorting through photos. I'm not editing them. I'm not doing anything like that. The company that I was shooting with, they had a software where you just plug in the SD card, like the card reader, or you plug in the SD card to the card reader and it automatically pulls the photos off, and then you can just hot swap cards throughout the day. So that's what I ended up doing. And the A7 IV had better, since I'm delivering JPEG images, the A7 IV has better creative styles that you can go in and like really fine tune. So it took a couple weekends to kind of find what I wanted, but I ended up using the vivid creative style in the A7 IV. And then I adjusted the contrast, sharpness, highlights, and saturation settings within that. And the A7R III has a vivid creative style also, but there's not as many fine-tune adjustments that you can do to it. So I was able to get them to match somewhat closely. Like those times whenever I did need to use the second body, I was able to just kind of pick it up and run. But yeah, I ended up liking the A7 IV's images, the JPEG images out of that a lot better.
Let me set this to silent. So with the A7 IV, did it shoot? I had my phone on the cable. The phone was on the XLR. Hopefully that didn't cause any interference on the audio. So with the A7 IV, did it shoot faster in the burst? Was that important to you at all? Were you shooting in burst?
No, never. My first weekend I shot in burst, and I was working with another photographer. Shout out to Jamie if you happen to see this, but I was shooting with another photographer my first weekend, and she let me do burst settings, and then by the second day she was like, "No, do single shot. Like that's all you're gonna do." And I was able to kind of pick that up pretty quickly, but no, yes, there's no burst. It was single shots. And once I have no dance experience, but once I kind of started to understand how dances work, I could kind of start to figure out like, when are they going to do a jump or a leap? When are they running across the stage? When are they going to do something unique in their dance? And I could kind of gear up and nail that shot. So, yeah, I think on average, each dance I was shooting anywhere from usually about 50 to 60 photos per dance, and then it would be significantly more whenever there were like big group numbers with, there were times when there were 130 kids on stage at one time, so there's a lot of movement and things going on there, but yeah, it was all single shot.
So what was it about the A7 IV exactly that you liked about it over the R? Was it just image quality?
Yeah, I mean, it was image quality, but also it was just the creative styles mostly because I'm delivering JPEG. So there was a lot more that I was able to do in camera to kind of fine tune that. But also, since these are low light images, the high megapixel on the R, whenever I have to shoot in crop mode, working in low light images, it just never played in my favor. And the images, also, I found the screen on the R was kind of giving me false hope a lot of the time. So whenever I was shooting on the R, the screen was always a lot more contrasty than what I realized it was. And I always shoot raw, so that was like never a concern for me, you know, outside of this. But whenever I started importing the dance photos, I realized they were warmer and more contrasted in like on the actual computer than it was on the R. So the screen was kind of giving me false hope on that. And so sucks. I don't know if the screen is better on the A7 IV, but I mean, it felt more accurate whenever I was actually using it. So
yeah, I was going to ask if the screen at least was close, or did you notice a difference on the A7 IV?
No, I didn't notice enough of a difference to be of concern. You know, like there's probably some, you know, fine-tuned differences inside of there, but no, it wasn't enough to be of concern for that. Also, the autofocus settings were better on the A7 IV than it was on the A7R3. Because I was using zone autofocus pretty frequently. I also had to turn off the face and eye tracking because whenever I was doing group dances, it would always pull to the people behind who I wanted. So if I turned the face and eye autofocus tracking off, it would pull to the people that I wanted, and I could use the touch to focus to track who I needed throughout the dances. So
you're using the touch screen a lot throughout?
Not a lot, mostly on like whenever I was doing group dances, or if it was like duets or trios, anything like that, I could kind of touch, like if there was a dancer that was in front that I wanted it to track versus like the people behind them, or vice versa. If I really wanted to get a dancer that was behind and get kind of a dirty frame so that people in front are kind of out of focus, then I would touch kind of that person, and that would always work in my favor.
That seems frustrating to use the touchscreen. Did you use the Joy? Because isn't there a Joy-Con option to kind of?
There is, yeah. When I would use the wide zone autofocus settings, I would use the joystick to kind of go where I needed. Usually it was at like the bottom third of the screen, and that worked like probably 90% of the time.
Have you seen? I don't remember which Sony camera it is. One of them has like a touchpad.
I have seen that. Yeah.
Which one is that?
I don't remember.
I don't remember if people liked it or not. I don't know.
I don't think I would like it, to be honest. I like the joystick. It's finicky, but I think just because I've shot with Sony for so long, I've gotten used to kind of working that way.
So outside of the autofocus options, did the A7R and the A7 IV perform the same in autofocus, you think? Or was one better than the other? Did one just hit more often? What was the hit rates?
I mean, it's hard to say because there were so many variables inside of that. So lighting conditions are one, how fast the dancers are moving, how many dancers are on the stage, what autofocus setting I was in, which lenses I was using. So there's a lot of variables. So I can't really say for sure on that. But I felt more confident in the autofocus in this environment on the A7 IV than I did the A7R3.
I wonder if that's just low light.
It could be
in low light on that.
I mean,
I would assume the A7 IV did better. Overall autofocus. I would think they would, at least on the video side. I know it definitely would.
Yeah, I mean, it could be because I was using the G Master 70-200 on the A7 IV like 95% of the time, and I kept the Sigma 24-70 on the A7R3.
Mosquitoes.
Bugs, yeah. I feel like it just went cross-eyed.
That's something we'll have to get some mosquito repellent if we do more of these. Yeah, windows are down because it's hot.
It is
out
hot,
here in Indiana. It's not that hot yet.
No, but I got extremely sunburnt today, so I hope that's coming through great on
We'll see how the color grade goes. If she looks different than me, that's why.
Yeah.
You get really burnt.
I know. I feel like it's getting worse, too.
Yeah. So
bright red.
Where do you stand on the A7 IV and the R now?
I guess it depends on what I'm doing. The A7 IV, I feel like for events, long days, like things like, I guess I'll backtrack on that. I did take the A7 IV to the Craft Brewers Conference in Indianapolis last week and was shooting there with Full Pour Media also. And so I was using the A7 IV for that. I took the R with me too, but I never had to get it out. So I think maybe things like events, long shooting days, sports, probably I would go to the A7 IV for the most part, but I still love my R for portraits and landscapes and things like that.
You still think you want a newer R, or?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I love my R.
Would you go R over an A?
I don't know enough about the A, so I'm not sure.
But they would definitely kill in the sports area, but
yeah, but I mean, I love portraits and landscapes too, so I want the resolution option. So yeah.
So anybody doing this type of photography, I don't know if you kind of mentioned it before. What are some of the challenges that you ran into or issues you had when you started shooting this? Things as an experienced photographer that you ran into in this specific type of shooting?
Just being prepared for the day. I was both underprepared and overprepared in different areas for this going into it. So being prepared for the day, as in especially in the dance competition world, you don't ever really know what to expect. Like, things could go way either faster than they're supposed to. I had some competitions that were running like 2 hours ahead of schedule, and I had some that were running like 4 hours behind schedule. I also had some where the fire alarm was pulled during the day and we had to wait on the fire department to come, and other times where the police were called and we had to wait for that to get resolved, so like there are just so many variables that like you can never really count on what's going to happen. So
why were the police called?
Have you ever seen the TLC show Dance Moms? It's basically that. It's that environment. No, it kind of depends. So I went all over the country with this, mostly in the Midwest, but I was kind of all over the country for this, and it's regional. It depends on where you're at. I learned too, but
okay.
Yeah.
I figured people would ask.
Yeah.
So Dance Mom fights.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it was moms or dads, but either way, there were fights. There was alcohol involved. There were parking violations. There were just you name it.
Anyways, I'm gonna cut you off.
Yeah. So being prepared for the day, I ended up packing snacks in my camera bag at all times because you are sitting there for long periods of time. If you do get breaks, it's based on when the judges need to take a break. So even then that's like running to the restroom and right back. So if I had like Cliff Bars or like I had like little, like yogurt covered strawberry bites or, things like that. So keeping like snacks, I would always bring an energy drink with me because they are extremely long days. Earplugs also were a must. There was very, very loud environments. But also take like a pen and paper in case you need to like take notes of anything. Like if there was a wardrobe malfunction, like if a dancer's, like top or something came down during the dance, like you would need to go through and mark to like get rid of all those photos, like you're dealing with children, like you can't have those photos, obviously, you know? And that did happen sometimes. So like you would have to take, so then your lunch break goes into, okay, I have to go delete all of those photos now. And then, whatever. So, yeah, definitely those things. But also a monopod was a must for this. Because when you are shooting for that long of a time, like you don't want to be holding your camera that entire time. Exercise your hands, stretch your hands. I was constantly between dances, like putting the monopod over my shoulder and just doing this because like your knuckles, your joints will get sore from just holding like the grip. And then, I was like switching fingers that would be holding the shutter or zooming in and out or whatever. Yeah, lots of things. Also, we had to buy some gear that I, first of all, didn't even know existed until I ran into this issue.
The next thing I was going to bring up.
Yeah. So frequently I would be rotating my cameras from horizontal to vertical. And when I was using the 70-200, it has a collar built into the lens that, I can just kind of loosen it and then I can rotate between horizontal and vertical just on the fly. So I would have the 70-200 mounted on the monopod and then just swap out the body if I needed to, and that's it. And then just kind of rotate horizontal and vertical. Because again, you're doing this on the fly. Like you don't have time to unmount your camera during the event or anything. Because dancers are only on the stage for like 1 to 2 minutes tops, and then it's right on to the next one. So like there is no time to be swapping. But something I ran into is in the few cases when I did need to use the 24-70 and I wanted to get vertical shots, like even if they were groups, like sometimes you want to kind of isolate one individual dancer within the group or, something like that. I wasn't able to turn the 24-70 vertical whenever needed because the plate was on the actual camera and not on the lens. I didn't have a way to turn it. So we ended up researching that, and I found a 90-degree collar is what it was called, a lens collar, that mounted on the bottom of the camera, and then it has like a little 90-degree like half turn that you can kind of loosen, and then you can rotate your camera body around the lens. So that was something that we bought for this, and I will probably never use for anything else.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of where those would be useful outside of that. Switching back and forth like that's neat. I can't think of in the video world. Maybe if you want to switch up and grab some reels, but
like social content. But I don't know.
I don't know. What do we call them? They're called. I
think if you literally just look up like 90-degree lens collar, I guarantee you'll find it.
Tilta makes one. I don't remember the brand we got, but yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't Tilta. We had looked at the Tilta one, but
everyone makes one. You'll find them. But that and then the monopod we had is an old monopod.
Yeah.
That we had, and then you were going with a Manfrotto head for a while, which is a video head, which is really heavy. We swapped that out.
It was a pain to travel with too.
Yeah, we swapped that for just a small Arca Swiss. It's a cheap K&F.
Yeah.
K&F head off a K&F tripod.
Yeah.
And that Benro monopod's been around. We've had that since the old wedding days, and that's
like 2017-ish. It's been a while.
Probably before.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it's been a long time. We've had that thing forever.
Yeah, and it had a feet on it. You ended up taking that off.
Yeah.
Why did you do that? The feet, the base feet, the monopod feet to hold it up.
Yeah, because for the most part at these competitions, I'm sitting, and whenever you're shooting for that long, you don't want to be like sitting up on the edge of your seat, so the feet would be getting in my way. So I would have the monopod sitting in the chair like between my legs, so I would be sitting kind of back, and I would have the monopod in the chair between my legs. That way I'm also not like reaching far to hold the camera or anything. I can just have it right here. I can have one eye like in the viewfinder, and just kind of shoot as needed.
Yeah.
I don't have to reach, I don't have to do anything. But whenever I did that the first weekend that I was using it, those legs were in my way, and I didn't have time between the dances to even take the legs off. So I did end up handholding until we got to like a break. And it was like probably 2 hours or so of just hand holding the camera because the feet were just in the way the whole time. Like it was better for me to hand hold for like 2 hours and just accept it until we got to a break and I could take them off than it was for me to either try and mess with it or deal with the feet like within that. So
yeah. So then it was just kind of on the ball of the monopod. You could pivot it around.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you got that was useful for that? Other, you had to get a bunch of SD cards. SD cards, but
yeah, we did have to get a lot of SD cards. I don't think we bought anything else for it, but just one other note too is I ended up setting custom profiles on both of the cameras specifically for this because I was just shooting JPEG and I would shoot RAW like during the week for other things. So to be able to just kind of quickly go back to what I needed, So I set up custom profiles for both cameras on this. But one thing that I had never really had to do on our cameras before, and this is now my standard, is dual recording to the SD cards for slot 1 and 2, or slot A and B, depending on the camera that you're on. But so I set that up in the custom profile too. So I would be dual recording. I would have usually a 256, sometimes 128 if that would fill up, but I would have a 256 gig card in my B slot, and then my A slot was the 128s that I would be hot swapping throughout the day. So my B slot, my second card slot, would literally never move the entire weekend. It's just always there. Every single photo I took was being copied onto that the entire time, and then I would just swap out whatever slot 1 was to hot swap the cards as I was shooting. Oh yeah, one thing I forgot to mention and didn't realize until after we were already packed up and leaving was a very important piece of gear for these dance competitions was a Z battery charger from Tilta. This thing is USB-C charging, so you just plug in like a USB-C cord to it, and it charges 4 batteries all at once. And it has little light indicators showing if they are fully charged, if they have some charge, or if they're completely dead. And this was an absolute game changer. I was able to just keep it plugged in all day long and hot swap batteries just throughout the day, and I could always tell which one was the next one that I needed to be grabbing just based on the color of the light on that thing. So, perfect. Also, I guess one other thing too is theater lighting is horrible.
Yeah, I forgot that you mentioned this. Yeah, this was something really important you had to adjust to.
Yeah. So, I mean, shooting raw photos, like, the lighting conditions matter, obviously, but like there's so much that you can do in post.
You have some flexibility.
There's way more flexibility. But in theater lighting, whenever you're shooting JPEG, you have to get everything right in the camera first time around. So I ended up using settings in the cameras that I was used to just because I've done video work with you before, so I knew how to adjust, like the custom white balance and all of that. But having to really fine tune that was pretty crazy. There were some situations where the lighting would get warmer throughout the day. So all day I was just kind of every couple of hours, like going down, like I would start at like 3,800 Kelvin and then go down to 36, then down to 34, then down to 32, just throughout the day having to adjust it. Sometimes lights would have like a significant green tint and I would have to go through and like set the white balance and then really fine tune based on the skin tones that were on stage, Sometimes there were a super warm or super like orange or pink tint to the lights. That would happen. Or if lights were mismatched, that I ran into that sometimes too, where I knew one side of the stage had better lighting than the other side of the stage. So if I was able to kind of quickly adjust depending on the speed of the dance, sometimes I would kind of go through and just kind of crank up the, the orange tones or the blue tones inside of the like fine tune adjustment and the custom white balance as needed depending on the stage. And yeah.
That sounds awful. That sounds like the most challenging part of the whole thing is that. That seems very annoying.
It was, I mean, it wasn't terrible. It also kind of got predictable after a few weekends. Like, I kind of understood what I was looking at and what I needed to kind of focus on. Also, another thing I learned was a lot of dancers get spray tans. And there are different kinds of spray tans that you can get. And the cheapest spray tans have a green undertone to them. So sometimes, especially in group dances, some of the dancers will have a green skin tone under the stage lighting, and it looks like there's just something wrong in your camera. And it is, in fact, their spray tan. And there's not much you can do with it.
They look green to your eye?
No, like in the camera. Like in the camera, it looks green. I mean, because to your eye, like you're seeing them amongst a crowd of other kids that are all moving at the same, like, like you don't really notice it. But under stage lighting and then the way the camera picks it up, you can tell like it's not a natural skin tone, So yeah, that was something I ran into a lot. Also, I had to use the anti-flicker settings quite a bit. Because of stage lighting. There were also times where we had like LED walls that I had to shoot against. So using like anti-flicker settings. But
what are anti-flicker settings? Is it just something you flip on in the camera?
Yeah. Like it's a setting in the camera that like
the frequency, like the 50 hertz, 60 hertz, is that what it was? Or is it just called anti-flicker?
I think it's just called anti-flicker. You can probably fine tune it, but I never had to do that. But yeah, there is an anti-flicker setting inside of that that's supposed to counter, like if you see banding or anything in your images, it's supposed to try and counter that and correct it as the images are being captured.
Was that in the R and the 4?
Yeah. Yeah. But something I found out using that, especially in the A7 IV, I saw this. I never saw this in the A7R3. But in the A7 IV, when that anti-flicker setting is on and you do encounter flicker, first of all, there's a little note that pops up on the camera that says flicker, and it will like alert you that it's adjusting that, so it'll say flicker. But the image itself, like if you are autofocusing or you're like half holding the shutter, the image itself will be shifting pink and green as you are taking the photo. The photo itself does not render that way, but you can see it on the screen as it is compensating for the flicker. Really, really threw me off the first time that I encountered that, because I did not know what was happening. But whenever I offloaded the photos, they looked fine. But the first time that I encountered that, I was trying to go in and like correct the white balance because I thought it was an issue with the lights, and it wasn't. It was just the anti-flicker setting in the camera.
And that's in both the 4 and the R?
I only noticed it in the 4. I never encountered that in the R. So maybe, depending on the environment. But yeah, I did notice that in the A7 IV. So.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yep.
I think we just ended there.
Yeah.
Unless there's something else you want to add. What did you think of Van Rants? What is this? The mosquitoes are cool. I like the mosquitoes. They're starting to fill the van.
Are great.
I'm noticing my neck ain't the most comfortable right now.
Yeah.
We can probably upgrade these mics to proper stick mics.
I'm turned more. I'm comfortable.
Steering wheel here.
Oh yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, I'm
Feels
comfortable.
a little cozy like this.
The mics are heavy.
Yeah, they get heavy. I can add a handle to these, or I can just go stick mics, which I think I won't mind adding a handle to them.
Yeah, I don't mind.
But also, I can clamp. I thought about clamping an actual mic up here, and we can go freehand.
Oh, we do have a.
Yeah, like I can literally clamp my MKH50 here. The only reason I didn't was I didn't
clamp from back here.
Clamp it like anywhere in here. But the only reason I didn't want to is because I wanted to use dynamic mics. Because it's hot. We're going to have the windows down. There's going to be background noise. There's birds right now. There's cars going by. I don't know how any of that's going to come through like this.
We'll find out.
But that's kind of why I wanted to use something that dynamic mic.
Yeah.
But I do have those stick ones I could probably upgrade to. So if you guys want to see more Van Rants, let us know in the comments because we're going to do them anyway. So
it really doesn't matter what you say.
It matters, but I'm just going to do them anyway because this was fun.